In the churning darkness, a monstrous entity stirs, its form so horrific it defies comprehension. This unspeakable terror, neither beast nor phantom, is an amorphous, ever-shifting nightmare that consumes all in its path. It's as if the very fabric of reality buckles and warps in its presence, its malevolence causing the environment to decay, the air to freeze, and the bravest hearts to falter. It is not merely its appearance that strikes fear, but its insatiable hunger. It feasts on the innocence of children, not out of necessity, but a perverse delight in extinguishing hope and joy. It enslaves the souls of the living, turning them into twisted specters of their former selves. It devours the essence of the world, leaving only desolation in its wake. As civilizations crumbled and chaos reigned, the gods themselves trembled in fear. This was no ordinary monster. This was a terror unseen, a cataclysmic force of unimaginable power and malice. The monster's reign was a time of darkness and despair, a reign that saw empires fall and souls enslaved. This was not just a reign, but a brutal onslaught of terror and devastation. Imagine, if you will, a creature of such monstrous power. It could bring even the mightiest of empires to their knees. Unseen by the human eye, and yet felt so profoundly, its presence was like a chilling wind that swept across the world, leaving a trail of desolation in its wake. The monster was not content with mere physical destruction. No, it sought more. It sought the very essence of life, the soul. It devoured souls, not out of necessity, but out of a cruel and sadistic pleasure. Each soul it consumed only served to augment its power, its influence spreading like a deadly plague across the world. But worse yet, the monster enslaved the souls it did not devour. These poor souls were shackled in a realm of eternal torment, their cries echoing through the void, a chilling testament to the monster's gruesome power. The gods watched in horror as their creations fell one by one. They had never faced a threat of such magnitude. Every attempt to quell the monster's rampage only seemed to fuel its strength. The gods, in all their divine might, found themselves powerless before the beast. Their weapons, their powers, their strategies, all proved futile against the monster. It was as though they were trying to contain a tempest with a mere leaf. With each passing day, the monster's reign of terror grew stronger, its grasp tighter. Cities that were once bustling hubs of life were now ghost towns, their inhabitants either devoured or enslaved. The world was on the brink of total annihilation. In the face of such monstrous power, the gods were forced to make a desperate decision. In a desperate bid to save what remained of their creation, the gods devised a plan to confine the monster. It was a battle of epic proportions, a clash that shook the very foundations of existence. The gods, though mighty and powerful, were on the brink of exhaustion. Their powers, once infinite, had dwindled under the relentless onslaught of the monster. But the gods were not ready to give in. They summoned all their remaining strength for one final stand. With a unity born of desperation, they managed to corner the monster, driving it towards a dimensional rift. This rift, a tear in the very fabric of reality, was their only hope. It was an abyss from which there was no return, a realm severed from the physical world. In a final act of defiance, the monster roared, lashing out with all its might. But the gods held their ground, pushing the monster into the rift. As the monster fell into the darkness, the gods used their last vestiges of power to seal the rift, trapping the monster in a realm of isolation and desolation. Weakened and drained, the gods stood triumphant. They had paid a heavy price, but they had saved their creation from the monster. With the monster confined, the world began to heal, and the nightmare seemed to be over. But the relief was short-lived, for the monster was not defeated, only confined. Whispers of its return echo in the wind, as the dimensional rift trembles, the god's might diminishing. Signs of its dark influence, once thought eradicated, are slowly reappearing, casting an ominous shadow over our world. Cities are uneasy, children's laughter less frequent, and souls shiver with an unspoken fear. The monster is gathering its strength, feeding on our dread. And so, as the world teeters on the edge of another nightmare, one must wonder, is the monster's return inevitable?